That's wild. When you actually consider your grandparents, is how much they were sacrificing for me before they even knew me. They were putting my mom first. They were putting my aunts and uncles before their own needs. And I'm the recipient of that. I don't know. It makes me so grateful, and it makes me want to serve other people, to serve my children, to sacrifice for them. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, Katie and I are going to, we're going to really take this episode to as best as we can, and we're going to fall short, but to elevate our mothers, our grandmothers, because we are recipients of some incredible women's hard work and labor and sacrifice and faithfulness. And so just with it being Mother's Day coming up, it's been really, I guess for me, it's been, humbling and really inspiring, just considering my grandmothers, my mother, considering you, Katie. You're not my mother, but you are you're probably my favorite mother that's ever existed. Yeah, you are my favorite mother, actually, that's ever existed. And so we're gonna dive into that topic. Folks, if you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you're able to leave a rating or a review on whatever platform you listen on. And if you watch our podcast, if you're able to subscribe to our channel, that helps us a lot, or hit the like button, that helps our podcast as well. So with that said, we'll get this thing rolling.
The Now That We're a Family podcast.
Before we get going, I want to let you guys know this is your last chance to purchase the Get It All Done Club and get the homeschool course that I've created with it for free. So the homeschool course, the first 3 years, is for women who are looking into homeschooling for the first time. It goes over the first 3 years of homeschooling your children, which is pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. Talking about how to motivate children, different methodologies when it comes to homeschooling, how it looks in our home to homeschool multiple children when you have multiple grades, a toddler, a baby. We're figuring that out year after year as the dynamics in our home shift. And so I give you little visuals of what we've done those first 3 years. Anyways, it's $197. We've never done this before, but we are offering it for free if you purchase the Get It All Done Club. And if you aren't familiar with what the club is, then I will have a link down below. You can watch a masterclass. You can see what my teaching style is, kind of what we cover, and I give you a walkthrough through the program in that as well. So I'll have that link down below.
Okay, well, I don't know about you, Katie, but I'm going to just highlight some characteristics and some virtues that I greatly appreciate in my mother, and then in both my grandmothers. I'm not going to go to my great-grandmothers, even though they are praiseworthy women, but it's just, I think, for the sake of time. I was blessed to be able to spend a lot of time with my great-grandma Votberg, who was an amazing Christian woman. We would go to her house every Tuesday, which is pretty cool. Like we'd go there every Tuesday. She would watch some of us while other kids were at piano lessons. My mom would go, she'd drop us off there. She'd go to the gym. So yeah, I got to know my great grandma Votberg. I think I was 9 or 10 when she passed away. So I had quite a few years seeing her every week. I also got to know my grandma Bryson. So actually both of my dad's grandmothers, I got to know Grandma Bryson and Grandma Votberg. And then I got to know one of my mom's grandmothers, Grandma Brown, not very well. I would see her at a few family functions when I was younger. And then I don't think I got to meet my mother's other grandmother ever. I think I was told I did. I don't have any memories of meeting her.
That's honestly pretty great. You met 3 of your great grandmas.
Yes. And I met the 4th. I don't have any memories.
I don't think she's going to have any hard feelings.
We'll see. Yeah.
So basically this episode will be, at least the way I'm taking it, as kind of an encouragement to see what character qualities I want to grow in to be a woman after God.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah,
well, it is
like
interesting.
These women are ahead of us.
Yeah.
Ahead of me.
Well, it is interesting to see what stands out, over time. Because with both my Grandma Marty and Grandma Corwin, so my mom's mom, Grandma Corwin, so again, she raised 6 children. She just the fact that my grandmothers stayed married their whole life. Like they stayed married to my grandfathers forever. They just were so
Such
committed.
a gift.
It is. It's such a gift. And they were committed parents, right? And still are. Like my grandmothers are still very invested in their children's life and care deeply. And in their grandchildren's life. You know, they are invested in our life. We're getting birthday cards from Grandma Corwin. I mean, that's just incredible. And we see Grandma Mart, it's the same thing. You know, it's just, we are so blessed with my grandmas. And something that I really appreciate about my Grandma Corwin is she just never complained. And I had the privilege of working at her house once a week. So that was my first job, was weeding and working in the garden at Grandma Corwin's house once a week. And I got paid way more than I was worth at that point. And I had been working there for way too long when it finally came out that like when I was supposed to be pulling weeds, I would be like raking dirt over them. Would you
really?
Yeah. I know, just taking a shortcut. I was young, I was only like 23, I think, or 24. No, I'm joking. I think I was like 10. But
that's pretty old.
Maybe I was 8. I don't know. Is 10 old? We'll go younger then. I think I was 7. But I loved being able to have that time at my Grandma Corwin's house. She'd always have lunch for me. I'd work in her yard. But what I was going to say is that not only did she provide, my first job for me, she never once, and I still haven't heard her complain one time in her life. It is bizarre how like people our age, and myself included, like millennials, we're just so comfortable complaining and whining about stuff.
It's so embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. I hear myself and I'm like, you pathetic guy, stop it. And then I've got my grandparents that, have chronic pain. They're older than I am, like they've got health issues and like not one complaint. Like it's just not a part of, they don't do that. They don't publicly complain. And I want to be that way where it's like, I don't publicly complain. It's the whole, was that your stomach? Holy smokes. Wow.
Elisha, you're supposed to just ignore stuff like that.
I couldn't.
I can't get anything past Elisha, you guys. He's got to bring it up.
Anyways, that is just one attribute that inspires me so much in my Grandma Corwin. And
well, I think I want to stop you there.
Oh, sure.
Because before you go on, because what came to me when I was thinking about my Mama Joy, so my mom's mom, was she never complains. Mm-hmm. Like she's never complained. My mom says she's never heard her complain. And my mom's her daughter, and it is so embarrassing because I was convicted before getting on this episode of how much I've complained, just like the last 2 weeks specifically. And you've complained a lot when my daughter came to me and was telling me what was so annoying. Like she knew that I thought something was annoying. So she was bringing it up. Like, isn't it so annoying that blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, she has heard me complain about this thing so many times that she's bringing it up as a conversation starter. Like, that's really embarrassing and convicting in and of itself. And then to think like, wow, my mom can't remember her mom complaining.
Yes.
And she had a way harder life. Like I'm sitting in like the lap of luxury. I have no reasons to complain. I really don't. And you think it is so annoying, generations removed, to read about the Israelites complaining in the Bible. Like if they had one flaw that was gigantic, it was their murmuring and complaining, right? And they just get punished and punished and punished. And you're like, you guys. And then you see how easy it is to do. Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, I just heard the story of, so when my mom was a baby, my grandma and my grandpa were living in this little apartment not far from here, actually in Moscow, Idaho. And there was a fire and they were on the second story and there was a fire in the apartment complex and they had to run outside and it was winter and there was snow on the ground. They didn't get any of their stuff. They didn't get anything out of their apartment. They were just out. They've got their car and my mom, she's a baby. And it's like, where are they going to go? Like that, she was sharing that story. I'm like, that's wild. The things that, I know, that's just crazy to think about being in that scenario. Like that was my mom's life. And what's so cool about when you actually consider your grandparents is how much they were sacrificing for me before they even knew me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were sacrificing, they were putting my mom first. They were putting my aunts and uncles before their own needs. And I'm the recipient of that. We know, and that just, I don't know, it makes me so grateful, and it makes me want to serve other people, to serve my children, to sacrifice for them. Because when you start looking up the line, you're like, people sacrificed for me. Like like the greatest things I get to enjoy now, somebody like was working to get me in these positions, this home that we get to enjoy. It's like, I think of my grandma and grandpa running out of the burning apartment complex with my mom, and then scrapping to get through the rest of my grandpa's schooling there at the University of Idaho, and then get a teaching job and just scrap and make it work. And here I am. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happened, is here I am. I don't know. It's humbling, and yeah, it's very inspirational. And you think of it, how many things there are we can complain about. Oh, it's hot. Oh, it's cold. Oh, the traffic was bad. Oh, the DMV line was so long.
My upper lip itches.
Yeah, exactly. The kids were up last night.
Come on.
Like, my back hurts. Like,
that's the thing. There's always something.
Right.
And there's also always something to be grateful for. And I think of that scripture, in everything give thanks. It's the antidote to complaining.
Yeah.
Really is the thankful heart.
It is, exactly. In everything give thanks. Yeah.
Oh, could I say a few more things about my Mama Joy?
Sure.
Or were you going to go on?
Go for it.
Okay. So a couple other things that I love about my Mama Joy are, one, she always wore white. Always. She had 12 children, and she loved wearing white. And so actually, it was so extreme that I would go into her closet, and still to this day, if you go into her closet, she'll have about 30 white shirts, and that's it. All she wears are white shirts. That's how much she loves it. And they're collared button down. She cuts the arms short. So she buys the long sleeves, cuts the arms like 3/4 length, and then rolls them up to like short sleeve length. And it's a really cute look. I honestly should do it. Yeah. But I was thinking about this because it's something generationally I think I owe to her. I appreciate that she always looked really well dressed. Even though she had 12 children, she didn't let that be an excuse to be frumpy or to just let herself go. She was always well dressed. She still is very well dressed, even though she's 90 years old. I don't know. She's very elderly. And that's something that she passed on to my mom. And that's something that has gotten a little watered down through the generations as I wear my sweatshirt.
You look great.
It's something that I am challenged by and aspire to because of that. And I that's kind of fresh on my mind because I was just in an event, and one of the moms was like, my son noticed you always wear white. And I was thinking, that's something I got from my grandma. My mom always wore white growing up. And she said, it's a very easy color to wear. You just bleach it. And that's my perspective too, is like, well, you have kids. Yeah, it gets dirty and then you just bleach it. But anyways, it's something kind of sweet that I think is generational. Also, one more thing that's generational is the short ligament in my pinky.
Yep.
So I can't straighten my pinky, and it would get jammed all the time when I was blocking in volleyball. And it's kind of sweet that my grandma has this, my mom has this, and I have it, and my aunts. None of my children have my bent pinky.
Wow.
And but it's kind of something that I share with them.
Yeah. Do any of your sisters?
Yes.
Okay.
Caroline does, and I think Kyla has a little bit of it.
Okay. Well, yeah, Mama Joy is just an inspiring woman. I don't know. It is, again, that is a gift of, I guess, looking back and just having a heart of gratitude is you do get to highlight. It's like you get to see there and kind of give. I do think we are supposed to honor our elder, and you get to just look back and be like, you look at that. And they could be like, well, it wasn't all that great in the moment, or I lost my head a couple times, and you're like, that's not what we're talking about. The fact is that like when we look back, that is incredible what you've accomplished and what you've done. And I think we should do that, with not just the elderly in our life, but just their generation, honestly, and our parents' generation. I think it behooves us to actually look at what they've accomplished and what they've sacrificed for us, and to take heart to that and actually have it impress upon us some feeling of duty.
Yeah, for sure. Like she didn't do everything right. And you talk to her kids, like, yeah, there were flaws and she wasn't perfect. But it's like she had 12 children. She, up until they were getting married, she was sewing matching clothes for all of them. They were like cute, stylish clothes. I don't know where she found the time to do that. She fed all of them. All her kids played sports. All her kids and we're like exceptional at sports.
Yeah, and
all
music.
her kids played music and were exceptional at music. They put on a nativity scene for Christmas, like they're in Fullerton, California. Their entire street would be blocked down, closed down in the newspapers.
It was like a living nativity scene,
Yeah, it was
right? They were all
living. So
dressed
they
up.
had all the animals, and like this is in the city, like in Orange County, California. It wasn't like they're in the country with their live animals. Like they rented these things. They'd have live music. They did that for I think like 14 or 15 years.
Wow.
That's a big deal while you're having babies and nursing. And
Yeah.
I mean, she was the cleaner from all my grandpa's apartments. So she would go in and clean while the kids were in school and bring the younger kids with her, and just these nasty apartments. My mom remembers going along on some of those trips. And then they started, some of our listeners actually might be familiar with JH Ranch in Northern California. It's a huge Christian camp. And she started that with my grandpa and ran that, spent half the year up there and then half the year in Southern California. Like, it's just nuts what she accomplished.
Yes.
And I really, really admire her and her work ethic.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here really quick because this is a limited time opportunity. And that is, I want you to be a part of Voper Music Academy's 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. But in order to be a part of it, you need to be enrolled in Voper Music Academy prior to week 1 of the 6 Songs of Summer Challenge, which is the first Tuesday in June. And so we're going to link down below how you can join Voper Music Academy. And then you'll also be able to see kind of the criteria for participating in the 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. Anybody that's part of the Voper Music Academy is free to join the 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. This is our most popular challenge of the year. We incentivize children to practice throughout the summer, to learn new songs, to share their music with others, and they get a badge when they complete the 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. They also get cash. That's right, cash money. We mail you a physical badge and a physical $10 bill when you complete Voper Music Academy's 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. And so whether it's you, whether it's your child, and you want to stay consistent in your practice throughout the busy summer months, now's the time to join Voper Music Academy and be a part of the 2025 Voper Music Academy 6 Songs of Summer Challenge. So check out below and join. Oh, me too. I mean, you just mentioning the sports and the music, like with that many
She's
kids.
a better woman than I am.
No, you're incredible. And our kids are incredible. But that's not nothing. I think I took those things for granted because my grandmas did this. Well, my grandma Corwin, I don't think my dad's side played very much music, but they did a lot of sports. My mom's side, they did sports and music. It's like music lessons, sports, good grades, all the way through school, sending their kids to college. That's a ton of work. And I guess it's just one of those things you kind of take for granted until you're raising your kids. You're like, how did this happen so well? My grandma Marty, I tell you what, is an inspirational woman as well. That's my dad's. So Grandma Corin is my mother's mother, and then Grandma Marty's my dad's mother. And her and Grandpa Leon just lived a wild, adventurous life. And just story after story of, my grandpa, he's entrepreneurial, a logger, just him going completely out of business and not having anything, and him coming home being like, well, we're starting over again, Marty. You're saying, okay, Leon, and just going along with it. And they stayed married. They raised 3 awesome children, and gave me a great, because that my name, the inheritance of Voperk. I grew up with a good name in my community because of them. Like going back to Grandpa Leon and Grandma Marty, and then my parents, and then being able to inherit this name Voperk in a small town that carried clout. Like there was a reputation that I had nothing to do with, that I was just the recipient of, because of the sacrifice. Again, I go back to that word, the sacrifice that these mothers, my grandmothers, made, that I am now benefiting from, and how inspiring that is. And I do think that is, we're in this culture where I think parents are trained to not want to act like they don't want their children to feel any duty back towards them, right? It's like, hey, no, I'm fine. Like, go live your life, go pursue your dreams. Where in reality, I think God made it so that it's like our parents pour into us, and we are obligated to our parents, to our grandparents, these people that have sacrificed, not just familially, but to the troops that gave their lives for our freedom, to the founding fathers, to the people that came over from Europe, the early settlers here in the US. This life that's been built, it's like they were sacrificing, and we are recipients of it. And I do think it is right to feel an obligation to honor that legacy. To be like, okay, like, now what will I do with this? They did this, that, and the other thing. They had made all these sacrifices to get to here. Am I just going to sit back, and get fat on all these people's, labor and hard work? A lot of people do that, and it's tempting to do that, but it's actually not fulfilling to do that. It's not honoring.
Well, I like how you brought up that word duty. And I remember when we did an episode with C.R. Wiley, he mentioned that Greek guy. Do you remember his name?
Well, it's from...
it's like the Legend of Troy.
Yeah. What's the book called? Is it Aeneid, or how do you say that? Is it from...
Virgil's Aeneid?
Aeneid? Or no, it's from Inferno. What's the Inferno?
No, I think it is from Aeneid.
Aeneid? Okay. Aeneid.
Anyways, this guy that I should know the name of comes out of Troy, right? Out of the battle, carrying his son.
Yeah, that's right.
Excuse me. And he has his dad on his shoulders.
Right. Legendary.
And I think that is how we need to view ourselves.
Yes.
As this generation, this child raising, parent honoring generation. And there is a massive issue in our generation where I think of that book, The Giving Tree. You've probably read this book to your children, where the little boy loves to play in the tree and play with the apples. And he comes back to the giving tree over and over and over. And he takes his branches and it cuts down the tree. And he just read the book if you haven't read it. If you know what I'm talking about, you're tracking. And basically, this tree is nothing but a stump, and the boy sits on it, and the stump offers him a place to rest. And this tree is more than willing to give this boy anything he needs. And at the end, it's just this stump, and the boy's still going, hey, what do you have for me? I feel like that's our response to our parents these days. We go, okay, yeah, you raised me, you took care of me, you did everything for me. Now I'm a full-grown adult. I've got my own family, and now I need you to take care of me. I need you to take care of my kids. I need you to have the time for those things. Like, what are you doing if you aren't helping me out?
Yes.
Like what good are you if you aren't helping me out?
We get messages all the time from
all
people
the time
saying, hey, how do we talk to mom? They're selfish. My parents are retired and selfish with their time. They're not helping. And it's like, that's not their job at all.
It's not. And I'm not saying there aren't selfish old people out there, but frankly, it sounds like they raised a selfish child too. It sounds like everyone's selfish in this situation. Like, you should be honoring your parents. Maybe if they felt just like this honor and appreciation and respect, like, our duty is to serve them at this point.
Yes.
Is all I'm saying. And I'm not saying there aren't selfish parents out there that just want to like live in their RV and never see their grandkids.
Oh, and also it's a blessing when the older generation wants to bless you and support you
and
give
gift
to you and all those things that I want to be able to do with my kids for sure.
I do too. And I'm grateful when our parents are able to pour in or hang out with the kids. Our parents are
crazy generous to us. And
Yes. So you have to read, get the
principle.
All the disclaimers. Okay. But the principle is, we shouldn't be the needy ones right now. We should be the ones going into overdrive with duty for both generations, duty up and duty down.
The glory of a young man is his strength.
And it is hard. And guess what? That's what our parents did. They had this duty up and this duty down. And now our generation is going, no. It needs to be a waterfall effect. Yeah. You pour into me and into my kids and, and it's not like that anymore. Like, they genuinely are weaker and older. And anyways, so I just think that was a soapbox. Okay.
That's a great point though. I'm inspired when I got to find the exact reference that C.R. Wiley used though, because he was saying it was on their coin, right? this was
I don't
like the
remember that
image
part.
on the coin of the man carrying holding his son's hand, fleeing the city and carrying
We
his.
need that art in our house.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, Katie,
I'm going to get that.
get that. Yes,
Etsy. Google
Yes.
search it tonight.
that is awesome.
Yeah, I want that.
But yeah, just that duty and that highest form of piety is what it was. I think is what he talked about. But it's like my grandparents were that. They were sacrificing for their parents, for their children, and for their grandchildren. Like, wow, thank you. And I don't know, so grateful.
That's convicting. I want you guys to know I'm not standing on the soapbox feeling perfectly pure. Okay, like I'm standing on it. Do you see me standing on it? Elisha literally looked at my feet.
You like pointed down.
She's like, is she really on a soapbox? Feeling major conviction for the way I felt entitled
Same.
towards my parents. And it's like, what am I doing for them? If my parents are listening to this, I'm not doing much for you.
Yes.
So I want to grow in that area and I want to be able to bless my parents because I do feel so blessed.
I've had that attitude as well. And it's, I get
Yeah,
it.
I felt so blessed by your parents too. Like,
Me too. There's been so kind, and yet
Yes.
something in the I want to say millennials because then I feel like I get to like kind of spread out the blame, a little bit. It's like it's not just my fault; it's my generation's fault. But we'll roll with that. I do think like millennials, my generation, have this. I mean, people have talked about the entitlement thing, and I would always hear that, and it's like, well, I'm not going to be that way. But then I would feel it at times where it's like, man, like why am I not getting more support with the kids? We got young kids here, and I can't speak to like specific scenarios, but like that would be my
felt
heart.
that way.
Just kind of like, hey, we're drowning here. Where's the support from the generation above us? And it's like, what? Like they sacrificed their entire. That's all they've done for
Life,
you.
yeah.
And here you are in the prime of your health. You should be serving them and taking care of your children.
And the funny thing is often we want it so that we can have more leisure.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like we have so much leisure in our life and we want our mom to come take our kids so that we could
take a trip
go
to
to a coffee shop or be on Instagram or not be interrupted. It's not like so that we can go clean apartments.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the generation up was doing.
Exactly. They were bringing their kids and working their face off.
Like, yeah. Anyways, it's just convicting. So
It is.
that's something I want to grow in. But you were talking about,
Oh, Grandma Marty. So my
Grandma
dad's
Marty.
mom, who's just an incredible woman.
she has a fun sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
Great sense of
Grandma
humor, extremely witty. And she was such a all-in helpmeet to my grandfather, who was just a rogue, one of a kind, like individual, where he was adventure man. He was Lewis and Clark, just born, a couple hundred years later.
Fishing expeditions.
Yeah, just
and
in crazy
scuba
elements.
diving.
And she would just go all along. She would go to all the trips with him, like way up into the wilderness of Alaska, out into the crazy ocean in Alaska.
These were like hardcore trips. These weren't like
luxury. Yeah, exactly.
trips to Europe.
Yeah, or even their diving trips. Yeah, in South America. She was just such a good sport and gung ho. And ran the business with my grandpa. So, anyways, incredible woman that I still draw inspiration from. That's fun to think about. I still remember their stories, and that really actually is confidence inducing when I think of the life that they were able to build and all the setbacks they did experience along the way. The going out of business, having bad business deals happen, getting ripped off, getting stolen from, and they just kept going, just kept powering through. I don't know. It's really inspirational.
Well, it's something I'm so grateful for is I feel like your grandmas are my grandmas. Like I know I don't have the same amount of memories with them, but like Grandma Corwin, she sends me a birthday card every year, just like you. She sends our kids birthday cards. She's so generous. And I just feel so much like she's just continued to open up her heart and very practically and emotionally to all the in-laws that have joined the family and all the grandkids that have joined the family, and continue to put her time there. And you can tell where someone puts their time and money, that is what they value. And I just feel so cherished by her. It's the same with Grandma Marty. I remember we were really, really broke when we were first married. We had just had Leon. So you guys know where Leon gets his name, Grandma Marty's husband, Grandpa Leon. And I remember she gifted us just out of the blue a big baby gift. And it was just like such a huge gift. Like, it makes me emotional thinking about it. Like, in terms of like how much it impacted us at the time. Like, we were counting every single dollar. And it just, I don't know. She's just always been so generous as well, and big-hearted and fun-loving. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for your grandmas.
Yeah, so generous. That's just wild to think about, their generosity. I'll tell you what. Yeah, it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and then I was just going to go to my Grandma Paula.
Yeah, you should.
So my Grandma Paula passed away a couple years ago. She's my mom's dad. And
No. She was your dad's mom?
My mom's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah.
My father's mother. And she was my grandma that I was the closest to. She was a friend. And she was a friend to everybody. And I realized that at her funeral, there were, I want to say, like 1,000 people there. And I can't tell you, I talked until I lost my voice like this with people who were coming up saying, your grandma, like the most obscure people, like, your grandma wrote me a letter.
Right.
She hung out with them one time and then wrote them a letter and remembered all these things about them and made them feel so cared for. She had this ministry through letters, and she wrote so much. She had beautiful cursive, and I wanted to model my handwriting after her. Something I really admire about her was how relational she was with everybody. Everyone felt cared for from her, and she really overlooked people's flaws.
Yes.
And like, to a fault almost. She was just very generous with the way that she viewed people. She viewed them in the best light.
Wow.
And she didn't speak poorly of them. And she also was, she was an incredible hostess. She opened up her home. My grandpa is a very social guy. My grandma was very introverted, and she chose to serve her husband and open up her home almost 24/7. We joked that their house was a hotel. People that would barely know them up until she passed away would come and stay at their home multiple times a week. And she just always made you feel so at home. And so anyways, and then I also had really admired, she was always learning. She has tons of books and really supported my love of reading. She taught me how to sew. She taught me how to embroider. She was just a real gift. And I miss her. Yeah.
And boy, what a privilege it was to know her as well as I did, because she is such an admirable woman, and she really is kind of iconic. Really, she's an iconic woman, and yet not only was I able to marry her granddaughter, I got so much time with her, especially those 5 years that we lived in Bend, because they were living there too. And, we were their first great grandchild. And so they would even watch Leon sometimes, I think. We'd go over there and she would once or twice. Yeah, they watched Leon. But then we would be able to just sit and talk with your grandma in that living room for hours, right? We'd go over and just be able to have so much quality time with her when we lived there in Bend. And it was remarkable to me how interested she was. And, I know there's that old adage that interested people are interesting people, but I feel like your grandma really, I think, embodied that and encapsulates that, because she would remember things that I would bring up, some obscure band that I liked, right? That like is not a mainstream well-known band at all. And then she would like find something about that band online between like my last conversation, the next time I talked to him.
She would.
I'm like, how'd you even, like, this band's not even big enough to have a website, and like you found like some random like folk coffee shop that they played in, in San Francisco. And there was like an article written about it. And like brought it, she's like, okay, so is this the group? Like they would do these songs. I'm like, what?
Right.
You're incredible.
She would do that with everybody's interests.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then like she had her own too. Like again, up until she passed away, she was taking watercolor classes. She was taking posture classes. She was taking like, she had courses on reading and on dressing classy and on like, she just always learning things and always genuinely, at least she made you feel like it was very genuine.
Yes.
That she cared and was interested in your random thing that you thought was cool.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What an amazing quality. And then, not to mention, and this goes with my grandma's as well, but just her heart towards the Lord and her love for God's word. And I think the reverence she showed towards God and towards her husband, her commitment to her children, her commitment to all of her grandchildren. I don't know. That's just, you can
like
go
40 plus
it's just
grandchildren.
There's so much. And she just was so available and so present and invested in all of those people. Yeah. It's just hard for me to wrap my mind around how, and that's why I guess it's just one day at a time. You do it one day at a time. Then you look at this body of work, that the Lord's, I guess, done through someone's life, and it's really inspirational. And something else, you said she saw the best in people almost to a fault. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I guess the fault, and I don't think your grandma did actually to a fault, because I think the only way that you could see the best in people to a fault is if you didn't have discernment and you could put yourself in dangerous situations, or you could give somebody bad advice, to like marry somebody that you should have seen all the, red flags or something like that. And I don't think your grandma did that. But when you think about it, like why not just see the best in people? That's just such a more, I guess, uplifting way to live, right? Especially if people are going to be coming and going, they're going to be passing through your life. And if you're the majority of how you view people is going to be retrospective, it's going to be from memories. And so why not choose just to speak well of those people retrospectively? I don't know. I appreciated that about your grandma.
Something that she loved to keep up with everything that everyone was doing, and something that makes me chuckle now. And then it stressed her how when Elisha and I started putting things out online, because she felt like in order to be a good grandma that was up to date, she had to watch everything.
Yes.
And so, we had daily Instagram stories going. We had my YouTube. We had Elisha's and my YouTube together. We had the podcast.
Wow.
We had the emails. And she was subscribed to every email. She knew everything. She knew about, she was enrolled in Voteberg Music Academy. Like she was in the Get It All Done Club.
She was an early adopter of Voteberg Music Academy. Yeah.
She's probably like our second student.
Yeah.
And she would tell us, well, maybe you guys shouldn't put out a podcast, because then it would be one more thing people would have to listen to. Yeah,
she's so back. There's so much a backlog. She felt like she needed to catch up.
And it would stress her out. And I was like, Grams, just don't watch them all.
Yeah, you can take a week off.
You can't. She thought other people felt the same responsibility to listen. If we created something, they had to listen to it, that she felt. Anyways.
Yeah, I still think about her. I don't know if it's weekly, but I think about her often when I'm writing Top 5 Tuesday, because she would always so graciously make corrections to grammatical errors I would make, or just spelling errors that I would make. And I was always so grateful for it. I still think of.
Yeah, she did it in a really nice way.
She did. I know, because that can be a really not nice. I think it's hard to be really gracious when you're giving unsolicited correction. And yet I was always so grateful when she would write back, just kind of, with the correction. And obviously, so I missed that. It's one of those things you're kind of like, oh, that was really kind.
She edited our After the Baby books. Yep. She said she made some edits that at the time I was like, we're going to keep that in. And now I think she was right.
Oh, really?
I wish we'd taken it out. Yeah. There are a couple things.
Anyways, yeah,
but she was very affirming of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a a legacy she left behind. And again, going back to that word sacrifice, and I don't know, it's just so admirable.
She prayed so much.
She did,
Her
yeah.
kids gave her a run for her money. Like the more I know, she had 8 children. The more I know about her children's lives, they are just all characters. I love my aunts and uncles. I love my father. I respect them all a lot. But like they are big personalities, and her boys were pretty wild. And I feel like her girls have really big personalities that are not like, I don't feel like she had any easy kids.
Right.
Okay. Uncle Wade's her son. He might beg to differ.
Yeah, he probably would have been like
the easiest or something, like laid back personality wise. But I think all her kids really tested her limits, and she was so faithful to pray for all of them and pray for their spouses. And I think she had a lot of wisdom in the way that she navigated relationships and chose when to say something and when to just sit by the sidelines and let life teach them. And that's something I want to learn from. I don't feel like she was an overbearing mother.
That is a great talk about discernment. And I think you do need to be leaning on the Lord and in prayer, because as a parent, she modeled that so well. It's not that she wasn't afraid to speak up, because she would speak up, but she would also, like, you just said it so well, where she would just wait and let the Lord lead, or let life circumstances teach her children.
Same thing with marriages.
Yep.
Like she knew the ins and outs of what was going on in different couples' marriages. And she just sat back until she was asked for advice, or, she just wasn't a meddling mother-in-law. All of her daughters-in-law, my mom included, view her as a second mother. And some of them are closer to my grandma than their own mothers.
Right.
And it's like, that's the kind of mother-in-law I want to be.
Right.
And
yes.
Good thing for my daughter-in-law to say.
You said that whole meddling thing. That is something that I'm grateful for, that none of my grandmothers were that meddling, gossipy, like, well, I was down at the, library and I saw so-and-so with so-and-so. Like that happens a lot, I think. And older women, they
like
just
excellent mother-in-laws.
Yeah.
So anyways. Okay. Our mothers. It's getting long.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we should, don't want to, yeah. I tell you what, I appreciate my mother more and more as life goes on, because for a lot of the same things, that I already mentioned about my grandmothers and your grandmothers. But there are those things that like money can't buy, you can't expedite, you can't take shortcuts. And it's like character, faithfulness, longevity, steadfastness. And those are the things that, like, a person's true, like, character oftentimes, well, actually, maybe always, like, you can't actually see the depth until a big chunk of time, right?
Yeah, decades.
Yeah, exactly. Decades. And my mom's, she's not an older woman now. She's in her mid 60s. And she's still very healthy and youthful. And so I don't view her as an older woman at all. But she still has a body of work now. This, like, whoa, she's raised 10 children. She's
married 7 of them.
Yeah, she's been married 7 of them off. And she's been married to my dad for 42 years now, I think. 42, coming up on 42 years, 43 maybe? 42, I don't know. 42, 43. And you're like, wow, all of those, like, you see the fruit really start to, and my mom had fruit in her entire life. She was exceptional in high school. She was exceptional in college. She was exceptional in all the ministries that she, worked in, and the churches that she was a part of. And when she was a teacher, she was exceptional. She's always been a standout in whatever room she's been in. And yet I feel like the true fruit of her labor is only now. It's just now, like, multiplying, where you're like, whoa, like those things that nobody saw 20 years ago that she was doing, you start to see the fruit of it now. And you're like, oh, got it. Like, that is inspirational. Like, and I just, I don't know. I go back to that word sacrifice. And I want to, I think that is the high calling of parents. It's this gift. It's a privilege. It is, but it still is sacrifice. It still is an element of laying down your, I guess, maybe even preferences for the sake of someone else, but then the return is so glorious, right? The payoff is so great. And I think my mom modeled that in so many ways. Raised 10 children. The fact that we all played sports, we all played music. Come on, that is ridiculous.
And I feel like you mentioned she's reaping fruit now. I feel like she had to walk through the temporary lack of respect and temporary criticism. And I say temporary, years long.
Sure, of peers.
From certain people,
Yes.
going, what are you doing?
Right, why are you homeschooling?
Why are you homeschooling? Why are you still having kids?
Why'd you quit your job? Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's so obvious, the fruit of her life, and people want to hear from her and learn from her. I've done some episodes with her, actually. If you guys haven't met Lisa or aren't familiar with her, but those who are familiar with her know what an incredible woman she is.
Right.
And that wasn't always as obvious as it is now to peers.
Sure, like as far as
People
when she
didn't
graduated
value
college,
her value system.
Exactly.
For a period of time.
Yes, and she was up on the hill. It was, my childhood home.
Yeah.
That's where her work was being done, right? It wasn't out in the workplace. It
public
wasn't at the church buildings. It was up in her greatest work. What she was pouring into us. Like we got her the best of her in the home. And that was very unseen. It was very unseen work for a long time. Right. And I think of the glorious, and again, you're not doing it for the praise of man. That's the whole point, right? You're doing it to be faithful to the Lord. She was doing it to love her husband and to, love us children. I think that was the reward, right? She had that reward, but then down the line, it's just kind of like, throw in that she's spoken of so well and thought of so highly in the community, and by other Christians. So grateful for her.
Yeah, I really admire your mom too. And I'm just so grateful that, like, I feel like your grandmas are my second grandmothers. I do feel like your mother is my second mother. And I've enjoyed growing closer and closer to her each year that we've been married. I really appreciate the way I feel like she overlooked, she hasn't told me this, but I believe she really overlooked a lot of immaturities in me when I think she continues to, but especially when I first got married and I was 21, I think just kind of a bull in a china closet with certain relationships in terms of your parents. And I don't think I valued them to the extent that, they raised you. I was just excited to be married to you and live life. And I don't think I was sensitive to maybe what they wanted or how I could be a good daughter-in-law or, I was just pretty selfish and just wanted you and me and I'd take what I could get kind of. And I have some regrets from being early married and just being insensitive to your mother, but I feel like she never brought it up and was always just so gracious, continued to love me, whatever hurt there was or, frustration there was, she let it go and continued to just make me feel special and let me grow up. And I do feel like she continues to do that. Hopefully I don't ask that of her as often and that becomes less and less. But I just feel I love the way your mom invests in our kids and has taught them to embroider and she's just so intentional. We have her only grandkids that aren't local to where she lives and she still makes such an effort to bring them gifts and school supplies. I look forward to that and make them feel just so special and loved. And I know it takes extra effort with them not being in the same town. And so that means so much to me. And I feel like I'm becoming more and more friends with your mother and I want to learn from her more and more. I love that Lisa is always learning as well. She is a big reader and I admire that about her. She always has great books to read, good recommendations, good books in her bookshelf. And she's so hospitable when we come over there as well. Yeah,
she's a learner and a grower. Like she's always...
Like she changes.
Exactly.
Like when she learns new information, she modifies.
Yes, exactly. She applies it to her life. She just recently, her and my dad, they're empty nesters. Okay, all of my single brothers have moved out. They are in our childhood home, just the two of them. And they got rid of Wi-Fi. Like my mom was like, I was convicted. Like I just found myself like just watching stuff or just spending time online that wasn't all that productive. So we just canceled the Wi-Fi. So we just read at nighttime. And then she goes on to say, she's like, you know what I was convicted of? Like I realized I saw the screen thing as such like a harm to younger people, to younger generations. And she's like,
No one's talking
like,
about it being an addiction to our generation.
Exactly. And she's like, so she's, big time on this like screen free kick for her own well-being, right? So that she can be more effective. And I don't know. Yeah, both my parents are this way, but like I just love that my mom she's not stopped that self-development.
Well, yeah, she's been in school for the last couple years too. She went back to school.
Right.
It's something that like I never noticed because she's maintaining a huge family. Like Elisha says empty nesters, and that's kind of a joke because they have like more people in their home than ever, I feel like, in terms of like her events that she hosts are just huge. And so many of her children live right there and grandchildren. And that's something else I admire about your mother is I don't know how she makes cooking for that many people look so effortless.
That was my whole childhood too.
She'll just be like, all of us families come over. There's probably like 50 people, 60 people there. And it's like, oh yeah, here's the food. Like, I don't know when she prepares it. Right. She's an early riser. I think she does it before anybody else gets up.
Wow. Proverbs 31 right there. While the rest of the house is sleeping. Yeah, we would like after a basketball game or after an event, we'd show up with like 9 extra friends that she didn't know were coming over.
Oh yeah.
And it was never this like, oh, well, I'm not, she's like, oh, okay. Hey guys, like, what, did you just add water to the soup? What, like, it was never a thing. Just everybody would eat. Everybody was welcome. That's incredible.
It really, her hospitality and the way she does it with such grace amazes me. And it's something I want to learn from.
Wow, you're so right, Katie. That is incredible.
It's nuts. Yeah. And it's like something like no one ever talks about. I feel
that's because it's how low key she is with it.
Yeah, exactly.
She doesn't make it a big deal.
No, she does not.
It's just like, oh, wow. Okay. Everybody's here. Yep. Okay. 60 people ate. Great. Cleaned up. All right.
She like never mentions it. Like everybody would mention what a great hostess I was. If they came over with 8 extra people because I'd be sweating my face off in front of them trying to put something together. You're like, wow, that was a lot of work. Good job, Katie. I feel like it's like if you don't get props, then you know you're doing it good. Anyways, I also really admire, I mean, we can make this a long episode. We already have made it a long episode. And I feel bad that my mother's at the end here because you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, what a gigantic fan I am of my mother. And I always admired her. She frustrated me during my young single years, I would say, more than she maintained this relationship of doing what was best for me. And she always did that, even if it wasn't fun for her and it wasn't fun for me. And then after getting married, I feel like our friendship was able to like really blossom and it has just become so sweet. And I see why she made the decision she made and why she continued to have the tough conversation she had with me. And I really admire her for that because it was not easy. And I regret, again, like if I have regrets, it's like putting my mom through things that sometimes I see my younger sisters putting my mom through still. And I admire my younger sisters too. But I'm like, oh, I see I was in that position and I was giving my mom a hard time for this stuff. And it's emotionally really hard for my mother because she wants what's best. And I just didn't have the full picture. I couldn't value it at the time, but I really do now. And I love how classy my mother dresses, how she always looks good and put together, but not like snobbish or into herself. And I feel like she like rides that line so well where it's not all about how she looks, but you also feel like she cares about you because she dressed well.
Right. Wow. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. You feel like respected and honored. Yes. It's
like a first lady type of care or whatever that I want to have, where it's like, anyways, I really admire the way she does that and makes that effortless. I love how she's so intentional and creative with the way that she loves and cares for people. Like she still does creative, romantic, unique things for my dad. She took me out for my birthday this last year and had all these questions prepped ahead of time for the girls to ask around the table. And I mean, I'm her married daughter. She has 11 kids. She has a bunch still at home. She's still homeschooling. Like, she was more intentional with my birthday party than I am with my kids' birthday parties. You know, and she has a million more things going on. She really does. So I really admire her. I admire the way she's willing to have hard conversations with people and let them not like her, because she just speaks the truth in love and does what she feels the Lord is calling her to do. And she has a very sensitive spirit towards the Lord, a very tender heart. She's always in scripture. That's something I remember growing up was she was always up at 6:30 reading her Bible. My mother is a creature of habit, and I really admire that. It's not something I'm naturally good at. And so but I see how much her structure and her routine blessed our home, while she was still able to be spontaneous and fun and support my dad in that. And so I feel like she rode those things very well.
Wow.
And I mean, kind of same thing. In terms of like hospitality, she's always has more food and very generous and just really hardworking.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, if I could be like anyone, it really would be my mother.
Oh yeah. I'm so grateful for her. I mean, because I feel like you have gotten so many of her, traits that are such a gift to our home. And it's like, I can point directly to your mother and be like, wow, like, thank you, Janice, that I got Katie, and that she is the way that she is. Because I feel like I firsthand get to experience just so many of the qualities and so much of the hard work your mother puts in, like that comes out in you, and just your habits and your disciplines. It's such a gift. And it is wild. Cause I mean, we just, it was a couple months ago that we lived with your parents, I guess we were there 2.5 weeks.
It was a couple weeks.
It was a couple weeks. Yeah.
It felt like a long time.
Yeah. I was going to say it wasn't.
Because like my other brother-in-law and sister were there too. It was just a full house for 2 weeks.
Yeah. But same thing. It's like, I'd be up early. Your mom was up early, like starting the day, right? Like she was just up prepping meals, having her Bible time, doing her workout, getting the kids up that she needed to shuttle around to different. She was just always up. And these would be mornings after really late social nights.
Yeah.
Right?
I couldn't hang.
Right. We'd be up late talking and having family time. And then, she was up first thing. I'm like, wow, that is just so admirable. That trait to just be up. I go back to Proverbs 31. There is that line. It's like, why the rest of the house is asleep? She rises early, and
she doesn't sleep a lot. Like, she really doesn't.
And I say with my mom, it's like my mom was always like, you thought you got up early? Well, my mom was already up. Like, like you thought, like she was just up, and it was running the household. I think that term, like running the household, really fits your mom so well, where it's like there's just logistics. And she wouldn't get behind on the logistics. She's always on top of it, because she is up early, because she is organized, because she is disciplined. And yet your dad is such a spontaneous guy, and she was so willing in his spontaneity. But I feel like her discipline allowed for the spontaneity. Like Jocko's quote is, discipline equals freedom. I do feel like when you are disciplined in those things that you can control, it gives you bandwidth and the ability to have freedom in other areas. And I think that your mom's an example of that.
Yeah, I think she was an excellent home manager without being like uptight.
Yes.
She didn't. And I think that's something I really want to balance with our kids, because I feel like sometimes I'm stressed out, and I don't feel like my mom was stressed out. There are times when it's funny, she would tell me, oh, Katie, you're impatient. You got that from me. And I remember like when I was a kid, and I remember thinking, yeah, like you're impatient, you're snapping at me or whatever. And now as an adult, I'm like, she was the most patient person ever. Like anytime she was snapping, we'd really pushed her to that point, But anyways, there's just a lot of things I want to learn from my mother and continue to learn.
Oh, and she is like, I tell you what, I don't think I would be doing half of the things I'm doing business-wise if it wasn't for your mother's support and encouragement and optimism. She is like, she still is our favorite person to show something new to, right?
It's
Like
true.
a new business idea, a new website, a new graphic, a new song, a new product, a new anything,
It's
article.
the classic, like, oh, well, your mom doesn't count if she thinks it's awesome. She is that person. Like she is the biggest
She
cheerleader.
just loves it. Yeah. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, it makes us so happy and so grateful because she just thinks anything you do is great. And it just really puts wind in your sails.
It does.
And
Exactly.
it makes you want to get better. Like she doesn't have a critical eye.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I feel so blessed by the mothers in our life. You know, my grandmothers, our mothers. It's humbling because you think of God's sacrifice, you know, Christ's death on the cross and our undeserved salvation, his righteousness being imputed unto us while we were dead in our trespasses and sins. It's like, what part did we have in, you know, this whole salvation thing? Well, only being enemies of God. That's the part we had. You know, he just blessed us. And yet he went so beyond just blessing us and saving us and giving us incredible families, like incredible mothers and just women that have poured into us and have labored and I don't know. It's humbling to think about. And I mean it. I do think that it is now incumbent upon me. It's incumbent upon us to honor them, you know, to be like, wow, they sacrificed. I want to, not like go sacrifice directly for them, but like pour into my children, not just take this gift and be like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to go, you know, squander this. It is an inheritance, right? We always talk about like the trust fund kids or the kids that get a big check going and squandering that and they don't invest it wisely. Well, everybody gets some sort of an inheritance, you know, and I just feel like we've been given a true inheritance of character, love, you know, I don't know, family, wisdom. Yeah.
And something I want to say too is like, I don't want the listeners that didn't grow up with these kinds of role models to be discouraged right now as you're listening, because we have been very blessed in this way. But these women we can learn from. Like I didn't grow up side by side or directly under my grandmothers. You know, I got to see the tail end and I got to hear a lot of stories, and their legend is inspirational to me, right? And my mother, yes, I got to see a lot more firsthand, but like even Elisha's mother, I'm just now getting to see more of her life. And it's kind of after the fact of a lot of her fruit. And so we don't have to necessarily grow up side by side with these women to be able to learn from them, to be inspired by them, to take things away from them. We can be students and be mentored by their history and their present today, regardless of how close we physically were or emotionally were or whatever, how present we were in their life. So just know that I am so grateful for our heritage. I know that every single day I do get a benefit from being an understudy of my mother and my grandmother. And, but you can still be an understudy of all these women. That is what the body of Christ is for, there is that Titus 2 effect that we have as all being a part of the family of God.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing is I want to continue doing that and we don't live close to any of these people. It's like we want to keep
still learning.
We're still learning from these people and you can do it from whether you're related to them or not through books and through podcasts and through, just finding women in your church. I think it is good to continue doing that.
Yeah. I
your
think
whole life.
My mom would say, so like Emily Barnes, Nancy Campbell, like there were women that spoke into her life that were some of her biggest mentors that were not directly related.
Yeah.
Because she kind of had my mother to look to, or her mother, and then there wasn't really anybody else when she was growing up. And yet, until my grandmother on my dad's side, right? Her mother-in-law. But it's like, and she grew up to, I feel like, be this like iconic Proverbs 31 woman, in my opinion. And so it's like, you can still be that way. Yes,
no doubt. Mothers, happy Mother's Day. Thank you all so much for listening. You are incredible. It is an incredible job that you have and that I'm sure that you do. but it's also just, I think it's just a highly esteemed, like God looks so highly upon that title of mother. And I do think you should feel that you are in a position that's an honorable position when you become a mother. So anyways, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.